After the police officer drove away with Lynn, some other people brought out Luna's body, which was now wrapped up from head to toe in bandages. "We're sorry about what happened to Luna," one people said to Rita. "Oh, it's fine," she replied. "I have other daughters at least." The two people looked at each other before walking away with Luna's wrapped up body. There was silence for a moment before everyone went back into the house. Although the things they did were a bit different than normal, they were more quiet, not as active as they usually were. Although Lan was sitting on her bed, humming to herself when she saw something on the corner of her eye. A ghost. Lan looked over to the corner and gasped. Floating in the air was Luna, but she was a ghost, and she seemed pissed. Luann couldn't do anything but stare and wonder why Luna's ghost was here. Usually people stay on Earth as a ghost if they have unfinished business or want to seek justice before dying off entirely. Luna's ghost just smiled at Luann. Although Luann didn't smile back, she just sat there blankly, unable to believe anything that was going on in front of her. "Don't act it out, Luann. I know what you did, and I'll make sure everyone knows," she said in a voice that echoed somewhat. Luann tried to let out a scream, but only a small squeak came out. "Don't try to call for help. Only you can see and hear me, Luann." Luann dashed towards the door, but Luna flew in front of her. Her guitar tied in her hands. "Sorry, bro, but you're not going anywhere," she said, raising her guitar into the air above Luann, "and I'll make sure of that." She looked around the room frantically, but she saw when she saw the window. Not having any other way to leave, Luann ran towards the window and jumped out of it and into the bush. Luna looked outside the window at Luann as she got herself out of the bush and ran towards the garage. Luna didn't follow. Instead, she stayed in the room, knowing Luann would come back eventually. "I miss my body," she sighed. "I miss being alive and being around my sisters." Then Luna had a small idea. She floated out of her old bedroom and into Lori and Lenny's room. Even though nobody except Luann could see or make contact with her, Lori was lying down on her bed, texting Bobby at a slower pace than usual, and crying a tiny bit. Lenny was sitting on the edge of her bed, sadly. Luna sighed and went to Lincoln's room. Clyde was with him, comforting Lincoln about Luna, even though he never actually gotten close to her. Lincoln was holding Bun Bun and crying to himself with his head in his legs. Luna looked down at the floor and went into what was now just Lucy's room. "Oh, ghost of Luna, please come back to us. We miss you," Lucy said with sadness in her voice. "Please, we need you back." Luna wished that Luann wasn't the only one that knew she was around. Then she could at least bring justice. She flew into Lola and Lana's room next, which by far was the most shocking. Lola lied on her bed, holding a picture of Luna and mourning herself. Lana was hugging all the pets in the house, talking to them about the things she liked the best about Luna. Luna almost teared up, but she fought it and flew into Lisa and Lily's room. Lisa was building a robot that looked like Luna, which was a tad bit creepy, but still normal for her. Lily was sleeping in her crib, which was the only normal thing that was happening at the moment, other than Lori texting. Then she went to her parents' room, which was the most heartbreaking room she'd seen yet. Her mother was crying loudly into her dad's arms. "I just want Luna back. Honey, she didn't deserve this," she wailed. I wish I could have went with her." Luna gasped and put her hands over her mouth. She heard her mother indirectly mention suicide, which she never thought she'd hear anyone talk about in her life. She just shook her head and flew back to her room and sat on her bed. Luann wasn't back yet, so she didn't exactly know what to do. "Don't worry, guys, I'm still here," she said loudly, "so you don't have to worry about me." She looked at the ceiling as tears flew from her eyes, although she wiped them off and weakly smiled. "I'm fine, so you don't have to worry." Days have passed since Luna's death, and the house was still a bit quiet. Luna's ghost is still seeking revenge on Luann, and Lucy's still been trying to communicate with Luna. Luna wished that she could communicate with Lucy, but since she's only here to seek revenge on Luann, only Luann can see her. Oh, Lucy, if only I could actually communicate with you, she sighed. And she got a sudden idea. Wait a second, I'm a ghost, aren't I? I can do what I want, can't I? Her eyes lit up as she spoke, and she had a tiny bit of hope inside her. Luna took a deep breath and went into Lucy's room, and was surprised when she saw everyone was in there with Lucy while she was trying to communicate with her. Everyone except Luann. Oh, Luna, if you're here, please come out and speak to us, Lucy declared. Luna took a deep breath and flew to the center of the room and tried to make herself appear. Everyone gasped when they saw a faint light slowly make itself appear into the center of the room. Luna kept on straining herself in order to make herself appear, and eventually worked. It worked. Luna was visible to everyone now, and when she looked up, everyone was staring at her blankly, and some were even crying. Luna? Is that really you? Lori asked as she stepped up to Luna. Yeah, dude, of course it's me. It's the one and only Luna Loud, she said with a small chuckle. She stared down at the ground for a moment, thinking if this was actually a smart idea. Luna, we've been so miserable without you. I mean, it's been so quiet, Lincoln said. I know, bro. I was here, she replied. Saw everyone, the crying, the mourning, everything you guys did. It was actually very depressing to say the least. Wait, you've been here the whole time? Yep, internal suffering's all I'm good for. Now, no biggie. Everyone looked at each other and knew that this isn't the musical Luna that they once knew. She's been scarred for life after the murder, which she's still trying to avenge. And guys, there's something I need to tell you. Lynn didn't kill. Luna was cut off when the door creaked open, and Luann was standing there with a knife in her hand. Luann? Everyone shouted at the same time, all except for Luna. Luann just had a big smile on her face, and the knife she held was shiny and sharp. So sharp it looked like it could break anything with just one swipe. Luna flew near the wall, shaking violently. Luann was the one who killed me, not Lynn, she finally spat out. Everyone looked at Luna with wide eyes and back at Luann, who was fighting off Lincoln. Don't ever mess with me, Lincoln. She stabbed right in the head, causing him to collapse onto the ground dead. Lincoln! Lori screamed, dragging herself to his corpse. No! Luann jumped on top of Lori, who was fighting back the best she could, although Luann was stronger, and she slit Lori's throat open. Lori was coughing up blood and becoming weak, soon dying as well. So Lori was taken care of. Luann went after the younger siblings, Lisa, Lola, Lana, Lucy, and then Lily. Corpses and blood were all over the floor, and the only one left was Lenny, cowering in fear. Luann was laughing like she's never laughed before, smiling inside of all her dead siblings. Please, Luann, don't hurt me, Lenny pleaded. Please. Oh, Lenny, there's a reason I was saving you for last, Luann purred. She held out her knife and dashed toward Lenny, stabbing her right in the stomach. Luann pulled out the knife slowly, making sure that Lenny was still alive after the first stab. She was, although she was weak, an evil, twisted smile crossed her face as she started to beat Lenny with her fist until her face was bruised. Afterwards, Luann stabbed her in the head repeatedly until she was happy with the death she gave Lenny. Luna just started at Luann, who looked like she lost everything she had. Her face and body had blood splattered all over it. Her clothes were torn and filthy, and she appeared to have lost hope a long time ago. Then Luna looked into Luann's eyes, and she saw everything that Luann didn't want anyone to know. She saw all the pain that Luann felt, the pain of being ignored and left out, and how she slowly changed to what she is now. She's been suffering longer than anyone could have imagined, and her siblings doing this to her only made her snap. It wasn't Luann's fault. She was this way. It was her siblings. Luann started laughing louder than she ever has before, crazier than she ever has before. There were footsteps going up the stairs, causing Luna to look up and gasp. Her parents were standing there, looking all around the bedroom in horror, and at Luann, who was still laughing. Luann, did you do all of this? Her parents shouted. Answer us! Luann had tears streaming down her face as she laughed, and her laugh slowly turned into cries. At this moment, Luna gasped. She never expected Luann to actually cry after everything that happened, but she was there, crying as loudly as she could. Her voice starting to break. Luna knew why she was crying. After everything Luann has been through in life, she's kept it all in until she broke. She couldn't control herself. Then, when she murdered Luna or the rest of her siblings, Luann always wanted to just take herself away from everyone, not take everyone away from herself. I didn't mean to. I just want them back. Please, give them back to me. Luann wailed. Her parents picked up the phone and were about to call the police when Luna interrupted them. Guys, wait. It really isn't Luann's fault. Parents looked up at Luna's ghost and gasped. Luna? She just smiled a small bit, but went back on the subject. It wasn't her fault. She became this way. It's ours. For not realizing the way she actually felt, which causes us to not care, and for her to slowly lose herself, she said, It's my turn to fix this. I'm going to take Luann to before this all happened. Luna looked down on Luann and hugged her tightly, causing the room around them to sparkle. Then the room started to become distorted, and then they were in darkness. Luann, listen to me, Luna said. You're going back in time right now, and whenever you're back home, only you will be able to remember what happened. It's your decision what to do once you're back. Just don't make the same mistake again. Luann just nodded sadly. All right, Ghost Luna, I understand. Luna nodded in reply and then disappeared. Luann curled into a ball as she was teleported back in time before the prank had ever happened. Luann sighed and thought about what Luna said to her. It was up to her now, and she knew what she wanted to do. She grabbed a pen and a piece of paper from her shelf and wrote a small letter. Once she was done, she sat on her pillow and grabbed the mixture she used for the failing prank inside. This stuff was supposed to be harmless, although due to it being made of chemicals, it was really deadly than it was when it was swallowed. She put the mixture bowl to her mouth and started to drink it, and she didn't stop until it was all gone. For a few moments, there was nothing, but then there were hiccups. She started hiccuping more and more, then eventually started coughing. While she was coughing, Luna walked into the bedroom and saw Luann gasping for air. Luann? She screamed, running up to her. What's the matter? She soon started wheezing as well as cough, and her body became weaker and weaker. Luna was trying to help her, although she couldn't exactly do anything. Luann, please! After enough wheezing and coughing, Luann stopped and became motionless on her bed. Luann, 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 please answer me. Luna screamed as she kept on shaking her body. Please, Luann, you can't leave us. Luann. Luna started smacking Luann's face in a little bit of hope that it would wake her up, but it didn't work. Luna burst into tears. She just watched one of her younger siblings do something she never thought anyone would do. Although everyone else must have heard what happened because they were watching Luna cry, although they didn't know what for. What happened in here? Luna, why are you crying? Her mom, Rita, asked. Luann, she just... Luna burst into tears once again, and then Rita saw why Luann was crying. Luann's body was pale and was lying on the bed in an unnatural position. Her eyes were closed and her mouth was hanging open a little bit, but she looked peaceful and at ease. Then she saw the note on the bed, which she read. Dear everyone, reading this, I'm sorry for all the things I've done in the past, from pranking you all to telling horrible, terrible jokes. I apologize. Now I've made up my mind on what I had to do in order to help myself and everyone around me. Don't put the blame on yourselves. This isn't your fault. It's mine for being a terrible daughter and so uncontrollable. I'll miss and love you all. Sincerely, Luann. Everyone then burst into tears at that moment. The sisters they got annoyed with the most had just off herself, and now they regret everything they've ever done. Although Luna's ghost from the future was watching the whole situation, she wasn't expecting Luann to choose his choice, but she did it anyway. She looked down on herself as she started to fade away due to the change in the past. I don't understand you sometimes, Luann, but whatever makes you happy.